everybody. Welcome to the Straight Out of Piss podcast. You guys have support. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon members. I really appreciate you. Please make sure you continue to like the videos, share the videos, subscribe if you're not already. It really helps the channel, the algorithm. Really helps everything else. So I appreciate it. Moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. That, and without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year.
All right, I am Shannon, and I'm from California, but I was taken to Cross Creek. Well, actually, I was taken to Brightway first, which is in St. George, Utah, and then transferred to Cross Creek Manor. This was in '97, and that Cross Creek Manor was in Laverkin, Utah.
Okay, and can you walk us through like a little bit of like your childhood and what led up to you being sent there?
Absolutely. So my mom is deaf and blind, and my father was absent. And so my grandparents raised me for a few years because my mom had a drug addiction issue when I was little. And then my mom met my stepfather, I don't know, around like 4 or 5. And he was extremely verbally abusive. And so they stayed married for 25 years. My stepbrothers tortured me and tied me to lawn chairs and poked me with toothpicks. And there was lots of trauma in my younger years. My dad, not my dad, but my grandfather who raised me passed away when I was 7. And that was like losing my dad. And then my mom was hit by a car when I was 9. So that was about 2 years later. And I thought I was going to lose her. She got clean and sober. And we had it. Sorry, I have a dog.
You're fine.
Stop it. And so I thought I was going to lose her, but she was clean and sober. So we had a 0 alcohol house when I was growing up. No talking about alcohol, no doing drugs. Then we moved after she got hit by the car. And that's when things just went downhill. And I started doing drugs. And I was actually in an outpatient rehab for marijuana before I was sent to Cross Creek. And they really tried. Sorry, we have a guest. I love my babies. So that program was outpatient. They were really honed in on trying to get the parents to understand how the parents' actions affected our children. Most children don't act out because they're in a good environment. They act out because they're a product of the environment that they're in. And my parents were not accepting of the fact that they were responsible for my behavior. Yes, I'm accountable for my own behavior, but as a child, acting out was a direct reflection of my environment. And then that meeting made me go to NA meetings. So I was 12, and they forced me to go to NA meetings with adult men. Where
okay. For weed, were you just smoking weed at this point, or were you doing other things?
Just weed.
Okay, so this was all for weed. Okay, continue.
Mm-hmm. And my best friend, her name's Laura. She ended up in Cross Creek as well, but she was there before me. But me and her went to this outpatient. So I think her parents referred my parents. And so we were both going to NA meetings together and hanging out with adult men who were raping us consistently while we were in this outpatient program, which then led us to smoke more weed. And when that didn't work, that's why I got kidnapped and sent to Utah to be abused some more.
So the place that you were abused at first, was that Brightway?
Oh, you mean my outpatient program? No.
Yeah, where was, do you know or you don't have to say the name if you don't want to, but I'm just kind of curious if that's tied in at all with
I don't think they're related because they're part of it. Off the top of my head, Brightway, Crosscreek. I'm blanking on the name right now. I do know the name, but I'm blanking on the name right now. They have a sister program in Oakland. So I'm in Northern California. They had 2 outpatient programs, one in Oakland and one in San Ramon, California.
Okay.
Which one has closed?
Okay. Do you know if the one you got sent to is closed or?
Yeah, the one in San Ramon that I was sent to was closed.
Cool.
I'm guessing most likely because they did group therapy as well. And we got drug tested weekly, which I always had clean drug tests. But they eventually, I probably closed because they were sending young teens to go to NA program with a bunch of like real addicts who really had issues, who took advantage of us and basically exploited us because we were looking to be loved, honestly.
Yeah, that's really fucked up. I'm sorry you had to go through that. So did you get, walk us through, did you get transported? I assume you got transported?
Yes, I got woken up about 4 in the morning when I was sleeping in my bedroom and told to get dressed. And I remember like asking, like, can I like go to the bathroom? Can I like have some privacy? Can I like, this is all so much to handle when you're being woken up in the middle of the night. And they were very gruff and rude and basically were like, get the fuck dressed and you're coming with us and you're not talking to your parents at all. So I had no contact with my parents. I wasn't able to use the restroom or even say bye to my cat or anything like that.
Okay. And what do you remember about your transport? How did they get you from where you were to the facility? Did they just drive you? I assume they just drove you, right? Probably.
Yeah, we just drove straight to Utah. It's about an 8.5 hour drive from here. And we drove the whole time. We stopped a couple places for me to like pee, but they came into the bathroom with me. And these were 2 men. I didn't even have a woman with me. So these were 2 men that were coming into the bathroom to make sure I didn't run away. Although I don't know where I would run away to, but.
Did they handcuff you or threaten to do that?
I feel like I remember having handcuffs on at one point, but it's very minimal memories of that.
Okay. What do you remember about when you first got to the facility?
Brightway?
Yeah.
So I had a room. I remember getting there and going into the room and changing into their like sweatpants or whatnot. But they were like, they strip searched me there. And so they strip searched me. And then I went to use the restroom and I was like, oh, I'll go back to my room. And somebody was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going back to my room. And they were like, well, you have to ask. I'm like, ask what? Like, what am I'm just walking down the hall. Like, what am I? Well, you're supposed to ask to leave the room. I'm like, what are you talking about? See this line? And like the person like showed me the line on the door and they were like, you have to ask to cross out of this room. I'm like, ask to cross. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you have to ask to do everything here. You can't talk unless you ask. You can't, leave the room. You can't go to the bathroom without asking. They did the strip search, bend over, cough. I mean, we didn't even have cell phones back then, so I don't know exactly what. I didn't even have a chance to put drugs anywhere. Like, what is it? I mean, I didn't even know how they were picking me up. Like, how would, like, if you think about it logically, like someone's sleeping and they don't know they're going to get kidnapped, and then you strip search them when, do you think I put something in my butthole when I was sleeping last night? Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. No, it's just the power thing. It's specifically because they have power and they can do it. I feel like, you know what I mean? They have power over these,
Well, now watching the video, it wasn't just power. It was a bunch of retards running this thing. They didn't even know what they were doing or have logical sense in what they were doing. And they violated our rights over and over and over again.
Definitely.
And now I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse now. And I wouldn't even strip search somebody, especially not somebody of the opposite sex as me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. Was Brightway a points and levels program? What was the point? Like, how would you graduate from Brightway? What did you have to do?
Honestly, I thought Brightway was like a detox center.
Okay,
That's
okay,
what
okay. Yeah, I've heard of these things before where they detox you and then they send you to the program after, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I've heard of these things. Yeah. Okay. So was that, how long were you there?
I believe a week.
A week. Okay.
A week. Hey,
And did they didn't tell you anything about where you were going or anything like that after that, did they?
no, I think they said that I was going to another facility, but you're like so shell shocked just that you've been kidnapped and now you're in this facility and you have no rights and you get strip search and now you're like, holy Toledo.
Yeah.
Like, I can't call my mom. I can't and my grandma, like my grandma raised me. I can't talk to my grandma. I can't, it's just astronomically, violating. So I don't recall a lot from Brightway, and I think more just from trauma.
Okay. And what do you remember about the transport to Cross Creek? Yeah, they drove you obviously, since you're probably pretty close, right?
hmm
Okay.
I remember, well, Laverkin, so St. George was Brightway in Utah, and they put you in the van, but they lock you arm to arm when they are taking you, and it's 30 minutes. So you sit in the van. There's no handle to get out. There's two people in the van with you, and then they take you to. They took me to the building. So, and then when I got there, because I was there from 97 to 99, the rec building is where we went to school in St. George. And so many things now like have popped into my mind that make sense of to what I like and don't like. For example, the rec building had no windows. So we spent all day in the rec building with no windows. This is where all the seminars occur, where we ate, where we drank, where we went to school. And then they had that little yard that basically looked like a prison yard, but with no like weights or like balls or anything. And we would just walk circles in the yard for 30 minutes a day. Um, but I don't like fluorescent lights. It makes sense now. I realize why I don't like fluorescent lights because I sat in a building with no windows.
Yeah. When you got there, did they buddy you up with somebody? Like, did they give you a hope buddy or whatever the hell they call it? And did they give you any physical rule manual at all?
Yeah, I did have a buddy. Well,
Okay.
first of all, I want to say that I got there and I was walking down the hall and I remember seeing Laura, my friend who I was in the other program with, my best friend. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my friend. Holy Toledo. Like, let me hug her. Let me touch her. Let me say hi. I miss you. Like, we've been through so much together. Um, and nope. Like, they grabbed me and moved me and was like, you're never going to talk to her. You're not allowed to see her. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is like my best friend. Like, we were raped together. Like, we can't like hug one another and love on each other. And so we were separated immediately, but I was given a buddy and a rule book. But that made me very sad that I was never able to see her the whole time I was there.
Yeah, it's really fucked up because looking back on it, it's like, damn, I wish I shouldn't have said anything. Like,
Right.
in those kind of situations, like, I just shouldn't have said anything. I should have acted like I didn't know him. But you had no way of knowing, you know?
Had no way.
You know?
No one said, hey, don't say you know somebody. Like I didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar? And what was your first seminar? Was it orientation or discovery?
I don't know, but I definitely know I went to Discovery. I don't
Okay.
remember orientation. I remember Discovery. And I remember being very, very, very fearful of going to seminars.
What made you fearful about going to seminars?
Gilcrease yelling in my face.
Okay. And like in the small group, like in the family group, like during the day, he'd do that kind of thing? Or like when would he be yelling? Like just constantly?
Yeah, constantly. Like throughout the whole seminar. If you weren't open for feedback, we would have to say, someone would ask, are you open for feedback? And then we would have to say, well, yes, because we weren't allowed. So boundaries are a big thing. Like, I didn't even know what a boundary was. I had to like read a book on it, because in the program, it was like, if I wasn't open to feedback, then I was in the wrong.
Yeah.
So I would have to say, yes, I'm open to feedback. And then they would tear you down about how you're a taker and how horrible of a person you are, because we were trained to basically tear each other down, which is awful. And then guilt crease during these seminars. If for some reason I was like, oh, I feel like a little uncomfortable, I want to like pull, let me protect myself a little, he would get in your face and spit on you.
Yep.
And
Go ahead.
And as a young girl, we don't deserve that. Boys don't either. Just girls learn how men should treat them and are taught how men should treat them, and to be told that this is how I should be treated taught me this is how I should be treated the rest of my life. I've been struggling with setting boundaries in relationships and not being abused ever since I got out of there.
I can understand that fully. Did they make you admit to anything? Like, did you have to admit to anything that you like that didn't happen to you, or like embellish any of the things that might have happened to you, like with more details than you might have wanted to, like during the seminar?
Like, they were like, you're such a druggie, you're a druggie. I'm like, I've only done like weed, and I think I did like speed like a handful of times. But I admitted to PCP. I've never done PCP.
Yeah.
I've admitted to heroin. I've never done heroin. I've admitted to what's LSD. I've never done LSD. I admitted to shrooms. I didn't even do shrooms until I got out of the program.
Yeah.
But I still haven't done LSD, PCP, heroin. I've never done any of that. So it was like they kept digging and digging and digging, because what you said wasn't enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing that really, really pisses me off about these seminars is I went over my rapes over and over and over again with them.
Yeah.
And not once did someone say, you know what, I should call the local police department and file a complaint about this, because there's a statute of limitation on rapes. Yeah. So they allowed me to go 2 years. And then when I got out, I said I wanted to go after these fuckers who raped me and my other friend, who she was 12 at the time and I was 13. And we weren't able to do anything because the statute of limitation had passed. They knew that.
Of course. And they're complicit in it because they knew about it and didn't do anything. So, yeah.
Right.
What level did you get to in the program?
I graduated.
You graduated? Okay. How long were you there?
20 months.
20 months. I was at Spring Creek Lodge for 22 months. How long did it take you to get level 4?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. In fact, I didn't have a lot of recollection of things. It's really, really weird. So my stepdad, I had gotten out of the program. I'd been in horrible relationships. And then I finally went through nursing school and I bought a house and I'm being very successful. And he actually was living with me, my stepdad, running around. And one night I was having a glass of wine and enjoying myself. And he said, you know what? The program didn't work because you're drinking wine. I kicked him out and I didn't speak to him for 5 years. I found out about 6 months ago that he had something called Lewy body dementia, which is like a very fast, aggressive form of dementia. And so I went to visit him and he just passed away. But I had very little contact with him from the time he said that the program was, it didn't work, that he wasted all this money on me. And then exactly a week to the day after he passed away, I happened to turn on the TV and I watched the program.
Wow. I'm sorry you had to go through that, because my dad has Alzheimer's. Every time I see my dad, he asks me if the program like destroyed me or if it did stuff for me, because so that's constantly on his mind. And my dad never wanted me to go to the program in the first place. So I feel for the dementia. I know how that kind of stuff is.
I'm sorry. Did your mom want you to go then?
Yeah, so essentially my mom wanted me to go, and long story short, she held the divorce over my dad's head, and they ended up getting divorced anyways right before I was going to graduate the program. So, but yeah, so there's that. My dad never wanted me to go, but so it's pretty fucked up that he feels guilty about it, but it is what it is. What was the hardest part about being at Cross Creek for you, and how did you deal with it?
The hardest thing? I think feeling lost as a person. You lose your identity of who you are and who you're supposed to become. You're not allowed to have unique qualities to yourself. I mean, I have a picture of me and my hair's cut like this and I have the shirt on. And then I saw another girl post a picture in the Cross Creek group. We look identical. And yeah, I think just feeling like you're out of your body. It's like almost like an out of body experience. Like you're going through the motions, like you're a robot, because this is what you've been
Exactly.
told to do. And it's hard. That was the hardest part because it's who you are. It's like your soul.
Yeah, and I feel like I almost I feel like I kind of disassociate. I feel like it's honestly possible that I might have disassociated for that whole 22 months almost. There's like there's a lot of it that I do remember, but then there's parts that I have completely blocked out. And I know this for a fact because I've done interviews with people that were there with me and that have pointed out stuff that was happening to me that I have no recollection of at all. But then when they tell me about it, I'm like, oh my fucking God, you're right. That I was getting my ass beat every day by a bunch of people in the cabin. Like that was a normal thing.
Right.
That was a
And it
normal
just
thing. Like
becomes
so
normal yeah, like abuse became normal and then you blocked it out of your mind as a defense mechanism because it was so awful that your mind had to block it out for you.
yeah, in order for you to survive. So it's crazy. Um so you were there 20 months. Was how was your program for you? Was it hard? Did you find yourself getting points easy, or did you find yourself like wanting to get points but getting consequenced a lot? How is your program for you? Because I know it's different for everybody.
I don't think I got consequented a lot. I think I was really scared of making mistakes and getting yelled at. I was already abused a lot from my stepdad, so I had a lot. I don't like confrontation. I don't like arguing. I'm not somebody to pick fights. Usually, like out of the blue. So I tried really hard to just do what I had to do to get out of there, which is really odd because on the outside, I, was more dependent and boisterous and stuck up for things. And then I just was so scary in there. I think the takedown thing, I think what happened was I have this memory of like when I was very newly there. And not understanding. And then I heard them over the walkie talkies takedown. And then I vividly remember hearing like, and some kid like yelling. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on in there? They're literally beating this kid. So it scared the crap out of me.
So you were just kind of like scared into submission or whatever. So you pretty much just worked your program and kind of just kept to yourself and did your thing and tried to not get consequenced that much. Okay. Were you on any medications before you went to Cross Creek at all?
I think Prozac.
Okay. Did they take you off that Prozac when you got to Cross Creek, or did they load you up with a bunch of medications?
I remember taking at least 3 to 4 pills twice a day. I don't know what they were.
Okay. Did it make you go ahead?
Kind of loopy.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, like
almost like sedated, maybe not sedated. But maybe that was the out of body experience. But without me knowing what I was on, I couldn't say.
okay. Did you notice a difference? You definitely noticed a difference in yourself though when you were put on, like when you took these extra pills though, right? Like you
Yeah.
noticed a difference. Okay. Okay.
And I gained a lot of weight.
Okay. How was the food there? Was it horrible? Was it bearable? Was it good?
Honestly, I really tried to think back to the meals. I remember a little bit, but all I remember is rolls.
Okay.
I think we ate a lot of rolls, like little biscuit rolls.
Yeah, the little rolls. Yeah, the little one roll things. Yep.
And maybe I remember like the little like iceberg salad lettuce. But other than that, I don't remember.
Okay. And when you were there, did you witness anybody run or did you hear anybody say
Yes.
what happened to runners?
So I vividly remember there was a girl who ran from Cross Creek. This is when we were in Laverkin. And she got out somehow. I don't remember how, but she got picked up by a semi truck driver. She was raped by the semi truck driver and then taken. She got away from him and then finally somehow found authorities. The authorities picked her up. She was brought right back.
That's really messed up. That's messed up.
So then I was like, I thought, you always had it in the back of your mind, like maybe I can like scale this fence. And then
Yeah.
that happened and you're like, well, fuck, man, I don't want to. Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
Who's going to help me?
Yeah. Even if you get to the next town, everybody knows that Cross Creek is a huge supplier of jobs and money. So
Right.
yeah, just bring you right back.
And then the first building we stayed in, I remember there was just a foam mattress on the ground and the showers were awful. And it was almost reminded me of like a homeless shelter.
Yeah. Except for it's worse. Worse.
Well, yeah, because they watch you when you pee and they watch you when you go number 2 and they watch you when you shower. Mm-hmm.
But as far as like cleanliness, yeah. And like, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It was gross. Mm-hmm.
What about like, did you witness or hear about any staff being like sexual, like inappropriate with other students or student on student or anything like that, or grooming or anything like that going on, staff to student, anything like that?
I remember there was one staff female member who liked to like brush our hair and like pet us and stuff. I don't remember her name. I don't recall necessarily if there was anything that happened to anybody with her per se. I know that there was a couple girls who had sexual relations at night. And I want to say that I feel like a staff member was involved too, but I can't say for sure.
Okay. And do you remember your I am statement or your purpose statement?
I'm beautiful, loving, kind, and I don't remember the last one.
Okay. And what did you think of focus? Do you remember the lifeboat process specifically?
The lifeboat. I do remember the lifeboat now that you brought it up. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Was that really traumatizing to you? Because that was really traumatizing to me. Yeah, that was a really hard one. That was a really hard one.
Why do I have to pick?
I know. Why do you have to pick? And why do I have to be the judge and juror of like other people's, like if they deserve to live or die? And why do I have to sit here for like 3 minutes and tell you why I deserve to live? Because I chose to give myself a live vote. Like what? And then I went for like 30 seconds and then I couldn't go anymore. And then they belittled me because I could only go 30 seconds. So anyway, either way, it's a losing battle. You can, yeah.
Why are children having to say why they deserve to live? I would never do that to my daughter. You know what else I would never do to my daughter? I asked my mom. I said, "Mom, when did you know that this program wasn't good?" And she said, "Well, I never really knew, but everyone who got out either committed suicide, got back on drugs, or went back to the program." I was like, "And you didn't ever think to apologize to me?" Well, not really, because it wasn't like pertinent. I'm like, my life wasn't pertinent for you to apologize. And then I asked, how long was it from the time I got there to the time you talked to me? 4 months. You didn't talk to me on the phone for 4 months. I have an 18-year-old daughter now. I would never send her somewhere without looking at where she's sleeping, without being able to randomly stop by and like touch her, look at where she's sleeping, seeing what she's eating, talk to her. Mom, you just left me there?
Yeah. Did they make you do a life contract before you left, before
Yeah.
you graduated?
Yeah.
Did they have at Cross Creek like any sort of like when you graduated the program? Did they have any sort of like ceremony for like graduation?
Yeah, I have pictures of it.
Okay, what would they do? Just like what did they do in that? Do you remember?
No,
Okay.
I don't remember a thing of it. I remember the pictures because I have pictures of it, and we look happy because we're like, we're getting out. But we I think I was just like, is this real? Am I really getting out right now? And I remember being petrified of them lying to me. Like we went through the seminar thing or whatever, but I just remember like they're lying. At some point they're going to be like, April Fools, you get to stay here longer. Uh, Petrifying.
Okay. Let's talk about reintegration into society or the lack thereof after the program. What was the hardest for you? What have you struggled with the most? And how long did the life contract last?
So this was very hard. Being as though So prior to me getting into the program, I had a boyfriend. One of the only guys that cared about me in the sense that if I said I didn't want to have sex, it's okay, not a problem. I'll hold you. I'll love you. I'm here for you. I remember him being very, very loving and caring. And finally, a guy just loved me for me. Um, so I disappeared. And when I got back, my next door neighbor, who was my best friend, was dating him. And I didn't know what to do. I looked out the window. I didn't like, how do you go from isolation to now back in a house to like looking out the window and seeing your best friend make out with the only man that seemed to care about you in life? And then you can't even walk out of your house without feeling uncomfortable. It was awful. The contract. I don't remember how long the contract lasted because just getting out and having no support was so traumatizing.
Okay. Did you get into hard drugs at all after you got out of the program?
No, I really, really tried to stay straight for a while. I tried to not talk to the old people, not be about the old people. I really, really tried, but there was no support.
Yeah.
And then my stepdad was working, and my mom's deaf and blind, and so I didn't have support. Um, and I did have one friend, and she was very straight. But how do you get out and talk to people about where you've been? How do you People don't understand, and you don't know how to explain it because I don't think we even understood what exactly happened to us, right? Um, it was a very hard integration.
Okay. And if you could go back in a time machine and not go through it, knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back
Okay.
to the question because I forgot I didn't answer your question. I
Okay.
started smoking weed again. I want to say it was maybe 6 to 8 months after, maybe a year. It was a while. I went a while, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I? So I started smoking weed. I drank a little bit, but I got a job. I was working. I was, cleaning the house. I wasn't like out of control. I was just getting high.
Okay.
but no
Okay.
other hard drugs. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you dodged that bullet because I got really into hard drugs for like 10 years and it wasn't pretty, but I'm doing good now. I just smoke weed, so I'm doing good.
I'm happy that you're doing better.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard. Um, so if you could go back in a time machine, knowing what you know now and not go through these places, would you do it and why?
Honestly, if I could go back, I would have lived with my grandma. I would have asked, and when my parents moved, then when they moved me, I would have just stayed with her, and I probably would have been fine. I wouldn't have gotten raped. I wouldn't have gone to an outpatient program. I probably would have never seen Cross Creek because, again, this goes back to children not being treated correctly. And when you take support away from children or like comfort of love and care, what else are they going to do? They're just, all kids want is to be loved and cared about. And when they're not, they're going to seek other things that make them feel good, whether that's drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever it is. They're just seeking something to make them feel better. Um, like I started cutting on myself before I went to the Cross Creek or whatever, but it was because the pain that we have inside is so heavy. How do we get that pain out?
Yeah. We just need a release. A lot of the time we're just looking for release.
Mm-hmm.
Tension and release.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you with your grandparents sent you there? Were
No,
they the
no.
ones that sent you? Who sent you to the program?
My mom and my stepdad.
Okay. So where are you with them in regards to like telling them how the program affected you? Have they seen the program? Have you tried to get them to watch it? Do you think you could ever forgive them? My thing is I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me. So where are you with your parents?
Well, I forgive them, but my dad passed away.
Yeah.
Well, my stepdad passed away. And my mom is deaf and blind, so I would love for her to watch the program, but that's not possible. I did speak to her about it. And I forgive her. I don't know what it's like to be deaf and blind. I will never know what that's like. However, I think she could have made other choices, but I do know as a parent, we do the best that we can at the time, whether that's right or wrong. But I think that if parents are more open to being inwardly focused on what they're doing, that would help what they're doing with their kids. And my daughter is absolutely phenomenal. I must have done something wrong, right? I learned from what was done to me. She graduated at 18 last year, and she's graduating with her associate's degree next month. And she's going to San Francisco State for her psychology degree. So she'll have her bachelor's by the time she's 20, and she is a straight A student. And she's a little wild, like she has green hair and, like she's a little spunky, but I'm super proud of her.
That's awesome. Have you talked to her about what happened to you?
She knows it all.
She knows it all? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
and I got out, and her father was very, very verbally abusive as well. Um, like I mentioned, that Gilcrease was yelling in my face. Well, I learned that that's what love was, and I picked a guy that showed me that. He was a drug dealer, and he shot somebody in front of our house when I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter. And then we had to move an hour away because you can't live at a drug dealer's house who just shot somebody, a gang member. And then he ended up crashing my car that was in my name to put the car into his name. And then when I went to leave him, I packed up all my shit one day. And I mean, he would scream at me for hours. But anyway, I packed up all my stuff and I left and I went back to my parents. He ended up taking the car. I had nothing. I had literally nothing. I was 25 years old with a 2-year-old, and I threw myself into nursing school, and I graduated at 29 with my RN.
nice. Do you so being an RN, do you guys get oh never mind. I was gonna ask if you guys just if you deal with like 51 people that get 5150 to the hospital, or if that's
Yeah, I have.
you have.
I've dealt with everything. I did trauma. I've seen it all. I've seen stabbings. I've seen everything. I've seen things that you can't even imagine. Like, seriously.
And
But
you
yeah,
live in California too, right? So there's a lot there. You probably seen a lot. You probably seen a lot.
and in the Bay Area, right next to Oakland, yes, I've seen a lot. I've got gunshot wounds to the head. I've gotten people coming with 6-inch knife sticking out of their abdomen. I've seen a lot.
That's crazy. Well, at least you can help people. At least you can help people. That's awesome. That you were able to, navigate that energy into something that you were able to help people with. That's awesome.
Well, I was scared shitless of how I was going to take care of my daughter by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Oh, and my stepdad kicked me out in the middle of nursing school. I remember walking down the street with my daughter, who was like 3 or 4 at the time, and he kicked me out because I don't remember exactly. It was some stupid offense. I don't know if I didn't pick up something, but I've always been very, very giving, clearly, the program. I'd make dinners every Saturday. I cleaned up, but I somehow probably stuck up to myself to him, and he was like, "Get out." And so I remember walking down the street being like, "What am I going to do?" And that's why I became a nurse, because I realized I could only count on me.
Yeah. And that's actually really smart. If you're a nurse, you know how to do pretty much everything. You just need, as long as you have the materials, you can pretty much do everything. So it's awesome. Take care of your family too. Um, let's see. Is it your belief that these remaining schools could or even should be fully regulated? Sorry, I always mess that up. Or is it your belief that they should all be shut down?
I would say if I was able to regulate them correctly, then maybe they should be. But if they're not regulated correctly, they should all be shut down. And they shouldn't, kids should not be kidnapped in the middle of the night. It
Yeah.
needs to be respected, and there needs to be, and definitely not brainwashed. I didn't even know that we were brainwashed by a cult that was based in the 70s. So you know what? I think they should all be shut down, because
Yeah.
as a government that we cannot trust, because they allow this to keep continuing to occur. Clearly, they don't understand the huge impact it has on these children to be abused, that they don't deserve the power to have that. And people made money off it, millions of dollars off of kids' souls. That's There's a nice place in hell for those people.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think you needed instead of being sent to the program? What do you think would have helped you instead?
Love.
Okay.
Straight up love. Like, how are you doing? Like, just caring. Like, seriously? I don't know one of us that just didn't want love, right? Love and
Yeah.
attention and caring. Sorry, I have 4 wiener dogs.
No,
4 of
you're
them.
fine.
Right? I mean, don't you think that most of us just wanted to feel important, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. To feel valued, to feel important, to feel loved, to feel like I was protected by my parents. Definitely.
Protected.
Yeah.
Hi. That's my fiance.
What's up, brother?
He's so silly.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Oh, I also have learned that I have PTSD or CPTSD. Don't do it.
Pringles.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely do not send your child there. And if you don't want to love your child the way they need to be loved, then figure your shit out. Get real with yourself. Seriously.
Okay.
Your child is a product of your own behavior.
Definitely. Fully truth right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. the show. If you guys could like the video, subscribe, and share if you have not already, I would really appreciate it. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.